Hello, students. In our earlier lecture, we have studied the unaccustomed earth, and now we have also studied some Marathi or such a kind of a explanation that help you to understand about the story more. In our next story that we are going to study is the German Refugee by Bernard Malamud. Something about Bernard Malamud needs to be studied here. Bernard Malamud was an American novelist and short story writer. He was accompanied with Saul Bellow, Joseph C. Joseph Heller, Philip Roth. He is mostly, we can say, brings us the Jewish American themes of his own writing, his own practical experience as a Jewish writer through his work of art. Through his writing, he brings us the Jewish lives, the themes of what we studied in earlier lecture. He brings us the themes of the Jewish writing to our say study. So, in what way Bernard Malamud needs to be understood fast? As we have seen, he is a great writer who brings us the atrocities caused by the the totalitarian fascist Adolf Hitler and his mass extermination in the form of concentration camps and the so called, as we see, devastation to the human lives. So, Bernard Malamud, as a very acute short story writer of all these issues to us, there was a personal unhappy life that we see in the form of this writing which is manifested in Bernard Malamud's say, and that incident is when his father was remarried after Bernard Malamud's mother had died. He was unhappy. He early on believed on his own that the the physically handicapped son born to him, he takes the responsibility of this. He has written his first novel, The Natural, is a fable about a baseball hero. Then he published The Fixer, which takes place in Tsar's Russia, who is a Russian dictator. It's a story of a Jewish handyman unjustly imprisoned for the murder of a Christian boy. And definitely this fixer, this novel run to Pulitzer Prize for him. His novels that we see, A New Life, The Teanuts, Dublin's Lives, God's Grace. Bernard Malamud's genius is mostly found in his short stories, and that is what we have very famous short stories in the form of The Magic Barrel, Idiots First, Pictures of Fiddleman, Stories of Bernard Malamud. So the collections which was later posthumously published in 1989. Posthumously means after death. Were published in, say, by the inheritors of his home. See, so Jewish writing, Jewish themes in an alien land such as that is not to them, belongs to them, brings us the very much concerted, say, philosophy and theme of the Jewish writing that we see in the type of Jewish, say, writing. So called the themes of the story that we see in earlier term of our syllabus. The same may be highlighted in this particular short story, The German Refugee. Of course, there is a German refugee, Oscar Gazner, is narrating the first person narration, and his wife, he was on his lecture too. But what are the things that brings him to this devastating life is given here. So we just need to go through the story in that. The narrator of the story gives us the first-hand account of his struggling German refugee, Oscar Gazner, in the first person narration. Hi. Gazner moved into America and was staying on the West 10th Street. The narrator was barely in his 20s and Oscar his 50s. The narrator, not a perfect English teacher, was in senior college, was teaching English to a newly arrived German refugee. The narrator gives an account of a Jewish refugee. The Germans who were displaced and migrating to America to escape from the brutality of Adolf Hitler. The narrator had taught English to many well-known artists and stars in their respective field. The narrator often spending time with Oscar Gazner. He was definitely bad in English speaking. The pronunciation for him was definitely a miles apart. He was struggling for, the German refugee was struggling for English speaking so that he could be understandable to the Americans where he is going to deliver a lecture. He was given a new job in the Institute of Public Studies in New York, but his pronunciation has definitely caused dejection in the German refugee. He had very less money, few things with him. Whatever he had sold out in early 1939 when he seen the expanding German brutality. He settled his wife, who was anti-Semite. She was childless. Both of them were childless still. She allowed him to escape to America and allowed him to go. The narrator taught him, standing in front of mirror, how to pronounce English and confusing sounds. He tried and tried, worked and worked. But he was quite dejected. The German refugee was quite dejected to stand and deliver the lecture. He found it difficult to learn foreign language, adjust in new environment, and he was displaced. His wife was behind in Poland. Not a word initially occurred to him to write about. He just waited, but hardly could extend more than one page. The narrator helped him out in translating job. The news of war definitely dejected him. Even radio music is no more music to him. He was leading a sadistic life. He was leading an isolated and alienated life. The narrator forced to put off. Sitting on a bench over the river, his mind is summed up with lots of distracting emotions and hatred against the Nazis that has come up into Europe. All his anger comes up when he was alone. He blamed Nazis. He blamed Nazis for destroying his career, his home. And after reaching America, in the first week, he confessed to attempted a suicide. But he was saved. One day, when the narrator went to his room, he wasn't there. He suspected that Oscar Kazner might have committed a suicide. He returned from library. He has been to library, but Kastner was unable to read any further. His where the problems were more intense. The German refugee was displaced, alienation, financial insecurity, without friends, and a typically distinct language that he cannot speak or cannot understand make him feel alienated more and more. जी स्टोरी आहे या स्टोरीमध्ये जर्मन रेफ्युजी जो आपल्या पत्नीपासून दूर झालेला आहे. त्याची पत्नी ही अँटीसेमाइट होती, म्हणून या जिविश पतीला तिने आपल्यापासून सोडून जाण्यासाठी अमेरिकेला जाण्यासाठी तिने आपले संबंध तोडून खुल्या पद्धतीने जाऊ दिलं. हा नॅरेटर कॅस्नर हा इकडे नॅरेटर सांगतोय का इकडे आलेला. नॅरेटर हा इंग्लिश टीचर आहे. रेफ्युजी आलेले आहेत जे दुसऱ्या देशातून आपल्याकडे स्थायिक होण्यासाठी आलेले आहेत, कामाच्या निमित्ताने आलेले आहेत. त्यांना इंग्लिश शिकवण्याचं काम नॅरेटर करत असतो. आणि तसं ह्या जर्मन रेफ्युजीला इंग्लिश शिकवण्याचं काम हा नॅरेटर करतोय. पण या नॅरेटरची मानसिक अवस्था, त्याचं निराशा, त्याचे नवीन इंग्लिश शिकण्याचं, प्रोनाऊन्सिएशनमध्ये येणाऱ्या अडचणी, ह्या सगळ्या अडचणींमुळे तो जर्मन रेफ्युजी निराश राहत असे. नदीच्या किनाऱ्यावर कधी एकटा बसे, तर तेव्हा तो नाझीज किंवा जे फॅसिस्ट आहे, ॲडॉल्फ हिटलर आहे, त्याच्यावर संताप व्यक्त करत असे. त्याचं लाईफ, त्याचं करिअर पूर्ण, त्याचं घर, कुटुंब पूर्णतः डिस्ट्रॉय केलेलं पाहायला मिळतं या नाझिझममुळे. आणि म्हणून आपला घर, संसार सगळं काही विकून तो अमेरिकेला आलेला आहे. आणि म्हणून ह्या अमेरिकेमध्ये त्याला असं अलिनेशन पाहायला मिळतं. त्याचं डिस्प्लेसमेंट झालेलं पाहायला मिळतं. त्याचं राहणं मूळ गाव, मूळ घर, मूळ देश हा आपलं सगळं सोडून तो अमेरिकेमध्ये झाला आहे. आपलं जग सोडून आलं आहे, आपलं वास्तव्य तिकडे मागे टाकून आलेलं आहे. त्यामुळे त्याला बेचैनी वाटते, अलिनेशन झालेलं पाहायला मिळतं. त्याच्या मनामध्ये फायनान्शियल इनसिक्युरिटी आहे आणि त्यामुळे तो विदाउट फ्रेंड्स, विदाउट एनी काइंड ऑफ language, speakable language that he has. He was so depressed that he need the psychologist to help him to come out such a depression. It was his paralysis of will, that is why he never could go beyond one page. He tries to translate and to memorize so that he can deliver the lecture. He was more troubled in his heart and in his mind. He never could get any happy thoughts. The narrator was worried. If the things are going in such a way like this is going to end in the Oscars suicide. He feared that this German refugee, due to this mental suffering, will come to an end with the suicide. जर्मन रेफ्युजी सुसाईड करेलच अशा या परिस्थितीमध्ये तो राहतोय. आणि ही वॉज मोर मेलॅंकॉलिक. एकटा राहतोय. ही कुड नेव्हर स्लीप इन द नाईट. रात्रभर झोप येत नसे जर्मन रेफ्युजीला. In one dream he told the narrator the Nazis inflicting wounds on him, forcing him to see the corpses they had slain. In one dream he told about his wife. He returned to see his wife in Germany. She wasn't there. She was dead. He, red blood, sipped the ground and flowing from tombstone. See, such nightmare dreams that he narrated to the artist, to the narrator. सो जर्मन रेफ्युजीने हे सांगितलं का एका स्वप्नामध्ये त्याने असं बघितलं का नाझीज त्याच्या शरीरावर जखमा करतायत, टॉर्चर करतायत. दुसऱ्या स्वप्नामध्ये त्याने असं बघितलंय का त्याची पत्नी जी आहे ती त्या ठिकाणी काहीतरी काम करते आणि सी वॉज डेड. ती मृत्युमुखी पडलेली. दुसऱ्या एका स्वप्नामध्ये त्याने बघितलंय का त्या ठिकाणी सांगतो आहे का डेफिनेटली that the blood is flowing, see, out of the tomb. And like this we have this type of things, and it is what we see. The inflicted wounds, the mental torture has caused him, and thus the soul, the spirit, the power, the energy has definitely gone down due to this such entire kind of dreams and his alienated life. He explained these things, strange frightful dreams. His marriage was definitely unsuccessful. He had no children due to his wife's interior problems. He could not give the birth. Almost 27 years both of them lived in different circumstances. Oscar completed the lecture and delivered well. He tried. Oscar was the first refugee they had employed in the public institute. Nazis now invaded in Europe, the Poland. The satisfactory lecture gave him a bit of a new life. Rather, it's escaped. He's escaped. Things are going well for him. After 2 days, the narrator walked into the Oscar's apartment. The crowd assembled there. The refugee was, but is red-faced, his lips and blush froth in the corners of the mouth. When the firemen on their knees working on inhalator, they tried to put the gas him, but he had killed himself. He gassed himself. The letter mentioned things to be given to Martin Goldberg, the narrator. Sitting in the armchair The narrator laid out the recent letters his wife and mother-in-law and anti-Semitic. His wife was dragged by German forces. Frau Gassner, the wife of Oscar Gassner, transported in a lorry. She was shot in the head, thrown in an open tank ditch among the naked Jewish men. And this has caused a tremendous outrage to him. He cannot tolerate such a humiliation rendered by the Nazis to the human being and to the wife. He cannot withstand with it. That is what he had killed himself in the story. The story, German Refugee, ends the tragic note with the death of the German refugee. So your student just needs to find out what are the peculiarity of the story and how the themes are discussed here. We will discuss these themes in next lecture. Thank you.